Okay, folks, welcome back to Advice from the Heart. I'm with Chris Hart. My name's Garrett Sussman of iPullRank, and we're talking about that all those things that happen between the agency and the enterprise. Chris has a ton of experience. So today our topic is all about what the hell happens when either your point of contact at the enterprise leaves or you're switching up agencies. Like, what's the consequence of that and how do you recover? Chris, you've seen a lot of that over the years.
Yeah, and a lot of people look at this through a one-way lens, and I have a very different opinion. I think chaos and opportunity happen at the same time at this change, right? If you look at it from the agency side, right? When an agency person changes to a brand or an enterprise or something like that, there's a potential of relationship issues lost as a result of that person gone, and people have to make up new ground. You might end up getting a better person that was there than before. There's always an uptick in the amount of time and effort you're going to get where that person's trying to get resituated. Usually there's an on-ramp, but sometimes things happen very abrupt and and the agency has to apply to something, right? Maybe a person goes and takes a new job, or somebody gets sick and suddenly is out and you've got to fill a position really quickly, right? There's an opportunity there for the agency to show their flexibility and their oversight in making sure there's things that occur in the back end, that there's call notes, there's action items, there's all those things, right? And on top of that, like I said, you may very well find that the next person you get is better. You might find that's a little less. You got those relationship issues. The thing that inevitably is lost is the one-to-one relationship bond that was built between those on this side and that person, especially if you're dealing with an agency where you've got a one point of contact grid. We are a different organization in that, and where we bring multiple people, right? Because you don't get a relationship with one person and then a whole bunch of other people that are behind the green curtain. Like, we're not outsourcing work to offshore people that don't know what's going on. We've got people that you're tied to in conversation with the relationship, in part because it's probably an improbable task for one person to be skilled at talking and discussing about all these things, but also to make sure that there's a level field here in redundancy. If somebody goes down, another person can step up. We run multiple pods. We have individual pod meetings and group pod meetings. So a lot of the team knows what's happening on one project or another project. So there's a lot of redundancy built in on the backside to address that. Now, on the client side, right, the more complicated the agency, the more chaotic or the more opportunistic the issue might be. Is it a case of the enterprise organization is laying people off? Oh God, we got to figure that out. Is the organization going through some restructuring? Have priorities changed? Is a person internally suddenly viewed ineffective and moved to another project? Or has the work they've been done so successful, they're onto something else, right? Have we helped them move forward, right? Who's going to be our net new champion, right? How do we go? Like, are the pain points different? Like, it's almost like you re-enter a mini, annual business review and or sales process all over again when any of these changes happen, right? I can tell you, when new people come in from the enterprise that we have to then get up leveled, there is usually a long period of time that those that were on the not involved portions of the project suddenly have to take moments of their time, and we've got to refeed them all of the things, not just from a deliverable standpoint, but from what was the dialogue and rationale between us and those that were there that led us to here, which is all the more reason why you got call notes, why you have access to a project tracker, why you get, ABRs and QBRs and reporting, and you get recorded calls, and some companies don't like you to record calls, but you get that kind of dialogue. But in my opinion and experience, Some things lead to total chaos, but I've had situations where I was like, thank God we don't have to deal with those individuals anymore. And the next person we've got in front of us was an amazing, heads over tails, tons of time better than what was there in the past. And suddenly the whole project changes from labor to love. Right?
There's so much great stuff to unpack there, and a lot of the stuff I love that you talk about is like on the agency side, how you can be prepared. On the enterprise side, have you seen any trends of what makes like that situation where the baton has to be passed and it happens really quick and effectively? Like any good trends?
No, when it's a baton holder by one person who acts as a gatekeeper and not a team enabler, fumbles all the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how well they're documenting the world on their side. You don't know what they're telling other people up or to the side of their organization, right? If you're locked in, and we try to get wide as best we can,
right,
by during the sales process, telling those who are purchasers and decision makers, this isn't a one-person ownership. From an SEO content project or a digital marketing project, you definitely need tech and IT people involved, right? You need a business person somewhere floating around to understand the implications of decisions, timelines, priorities. You need a champion that's going to go around and form relationships to all these different groups, PR, edit, what is the review, authorization, approved QA process? And is that team on the outside of the project team? And what's the queue to do that? Who might have code embargoes because there's certain time. There's a tremendous amount of, we need to speak with other people to become effective with what we're giving you. And the more the organization brings of that team, not from a manage the project by committee perspective, which is the worst thing, right? We just had a series of clients where these two particular clients had a great many people on a call, but it was as if no one person was taking a leadership position and everybody was trying to make everybody happy. And then the project just kind of sits there and does this thing. And it's like somebody must have gotten in trouble in the past for a thing. They didn't do something, and then
it's like whenever they create a sign, right? Like a sign is always made because some idiot did something that like required you to make the sign. The structure is there for a reason.
Right. And now you're like 6 months in and we've given you like 5 documents and keyed in on like 4 or 5 things that are really important for you to get to work on. And none of it is, let me just tweak this one, semicolon and my world is going to be better, right? It takes time for like dev queues and stuff. And like when you don't have that moving, right? And then when those things shift around, right, it gets really awkward because a company says, okay, our project is from here to here. And what have you delivered? Like we just signed the contract. Have you done anything yet? And I'm like, wow, I want to tell them, when you just got hired for that company, I bet you sat around for 3 months before you told anybody what to do because you were learning what was going on in this large organization. Now you're telling me, a person who we just went through a 3, maybe 6 month sales cycle with your organization, has some really in-depth, complex things we want to conquer, and how do we organize them so we attack solutions so the information can occur in a way that helps you run your business, right? You want me to give you that answer in like a week?
Right. What I get from you, it's almost like the ideal situation on the brand enterprise side is like you need a smaller group. It can't be too big. You need a leader, but the leader can't be a gatekeeper. And you need everyone else who's not the leader, ideally, to also be building relationships with the people and all the great people in the agency. And so therefore, because, the reality of this world is, everyone's professional career comes first. There, it's like businesses are businesses, and you have to be ready to pivot in the event that something unexpected happens.
So there's two things that came to mind right when you just said something like that, right? One of the things I kind of preach to the client service pod and the account managers, which all kind of come up towards me at some point. Our jobs are not just to create a deliverable and give you a deliverable and say we're done, right? We're to encourage and try to figure out how to get you to implement that and have insightful conversation. But a byproduct of that is how well can we help the person we're engaged with look good and better internally so they can move their career forward, right? When we do good for the project and the person on that side of the relationship, their world gets better because they have a win underneath their day-to-day, right? So take that, and now on our side, we have, and I'm going to use an example, we've been working with some very large banks, right? And one in particular, where we've worked with a great many different divisions, right? But two separate divisions, right? And these are win-wins. I'm not going to take a negative statement. There was a woman on this project, and the team on her side of the fence is very, very junior to what all of these digital marketing things mean. And she went way out of her way to bring the right people there, form consensus, help educate internally, right? Like did away with the barriers or level the playing field to get everybody in a we're not this, we're like this.
Same team.
Right? And she made the team work well between their side and our side to a project that's is now being wildly received for that organization. The same organization, completely separate division, people that don't work with each other. This other individual, this gentleman, they're working on a very, very complex set of items where basically we're creating audience personas and reports, right? Not from how do these people buy, but we want to talk about how do these particular personas in these different groupings view the company from the lens in which the company is trying to figure out a way to communicate to those groups, communities, organizations, right? In many cases, companies buy an audience report with 4. This organization bought like 6 audience reports with 8 personas in it. And it wasn't just kept in singularity. We vend them together to figure out the overlap, because group A to B and C, a person, any one of the people could, like, I'm tall and I'm white, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, or I'm tall and I'm a guy that's got a beard, right? Like, I'm not just a guy that has a beard, I'm not just a white guy, and I'm not just tall, right? I'm some combination of all those 3 things, right? Or dude that wears orange shirts or peach shirts.
So what happened with that project though? So you got the 8 personas.
So it was wildly complicated, and the data itself, and he made it really, really clear to us how to present that information in deck in a way that the people he was sharing it and socializing it with, who then had to do something with it and report up to, received it. And then we created layers of decks, because at some point you get to the the high 6-7 figure salaried people that can only look at like a page and a half before they're like, it's too much for me, right?
Yeah.
Right. But without that person, that project would have just been a great science project, right? It would have been a great exercise in the sets of deliverables, right? Not a great exercise in the sets of deliverables for the purpose which will be achieved when the company does something with the things we've delivered them. So that's, and I'm going to bring it back full circle in this conversation. People are always like, chaos, somebody's changed, whatever. Like I said, from chaos can come opportunity. And in this kind of shift and change up, you do have an opportunity to free yourself of baggage, right? You might collect new baggage, but free yourself of other problems and really get associated with other enthusiasms and other champions and other win-win opportunities. That it could be the kind, a change like this could be the kind of thing that, may, kill a project, but it also has the opportunity to really be the thing that adds new energy and drive to a project if you go about it the appropriate way.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So basically, big takeaway here is no matter where you are in an organization, you want to work with your agency hand in hand. Everyone wins, and take opportunities where you can. If someone leaves, that might be an opportunity for someone else. This has been Garrett Sussman and Christopher Hart from iPullRank Agency with Advice from the Heart. We'll catch you all next time.